Hey, I'm trying to do it off my computer, not my phone.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Stu and the Nut, an online radio show and podcast focused on national security, policy, politics, and selfless service. We're here to give you an honest opinion, different perspective, and hopefully a few laughs. We do this by not only interviewing guests, but also sharing our own perspectives and asking you, the listener, to interact with us on our chat room, via our Facebook page, and of course, on Twitter. Keep it funky. All right, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Stu and the Nunn. Stu here, and Nunn will be joining us really soon. He is just getting some final things in play, and will be joining us right away. Anyways, welcome to the show here, episode 88 on Stu and the Nunn here on, what is it, September 12th. September 12th. Wow, September 12th, 16 years ago today. We'll talk about that tonight. We're definitely going to talk about that. We're going to talk about all kind of stuff. Before I get going, actually, I want to play a little music. I want to play a little music here from good friends of ours here on the show. Someone that has been part of the show for a long time while I wait for Toby to be ready. So let me... let me get this going here and see what we got. But anyways, I want to welcome you to the show, episode 88. It is, again, September 12th, the day after September 11th, a 16th anniversary like no other, that is for sure. And with that, I want to play something that's kind of fitting, not only for the 16th anniversary, but also hey Deb, how you doing? I see Deb on there now. I'm just checking all my stuff, making sure we are streaming everywhere, and we are. So hello Doug, Mom, Dad, all kind of folks. Brian, see, maybe Paul Hernandez, some others. All right, so just giving shout outs tonight. It's gonna be Toby and I, and like I said, oh, where's he at? There he is. Hold on. All right, I'm bringing Toby in, and but I'm gonna first play a little Madison Rising while they get Toby spun up and ready to go. But this just makes sense because it is again, not only 16th anniversary yesterday, but man, if anything, we've seen what America's about these last couple weeks. So here's a little Star Spangled Banner from our good friends at Madison Rising. And there we go, a little Star Spangled Banner from our boys at Madison Rising. Hey, Toby, how you doing, brother? Welcome, everyone, to the show with Toby and Troy, Stu and the Nunn Radio, or Stu and the Nunn Show. How you doing? Can you hear me? Toby? Toby. Hold on a second. Let me see here. Toby, you don't hear me? I can see you. I don't know. Oh. I can
Hey
hear
everybody,
you too.
how's it going?
Good. I can hear
I
you
don't
too.
hear anything, so hopefully you can hear me. All right. Great. To say something.
All right. Yeah. So it's all right, everybody. Hold on. I am helping Toby out. Trying to multitask here. Doing helping Toby out, little technical issues, and also getting things set up. Hey, we are getting all kind of people joined here. Toby, do you have audio? Do you give me a comm check? Can you give me a comm check, Toby? Radio. Not sure why. He is not hearing me. We are, hey, Bush League. That's what we are. Toby can't even see me. I can see him great. Can you guys see him? I think you guys can see him, because I can see him and I heard him. They can hear you, Toby. All right. All right. He has disconnected. And we will try to do this again. I'm not sure. Toby just literally walked in the door. Right. That's why he was a little late joining. So I'm not sure what happened. But he is obviously having technical difficulties, which is like a wardrobe malfunction, but not as revealing, I guess, as you could say. Okay. Anyway, all right. We'll figure it out. We'll bring him here in a second. I was hoping to bring him. We're trying to do it on FaceTime. It's a little bit easier on our computers versus Skype. So either way, it is not. It's not working. All right. So while Toby figures it out, I don't know what he's going with. I've asked him to pick a method.
You have an incoming call from Toby Nunn.
So we're going with Skype, and we'll see how that goes. And that's not going well. All right. This is Bush League. Please stay with us. I don't know what is going on. I do not know why he's killing me. Toby Nunn, you're killing me. Man. All right. I can't keep doing that and talking to you guys. So I want to talk to you guys. Okay, he wants me to try him again. So let me try this again. I'm going to try to call him and bring him into the show and see if I can get him on, because I am not able to talk to you guys or talk about our topics, which I want to do. A lot of you have tuned in, so I want to bring him. Okay, it looks like we have Toby on. Toby, do I have audio with you? Can our guest hear you? Toby, dude, you're killing me. Video, but no audio from you. Okay. Let me check. All right, this is not going well. Jesus effing Christ. Okay, sorry people. Please stay with us. This is we tried one method. Okay, I know what's going on now. I know what is going on. I gotta make adjustments on my side. Toby, are you there? Toby, can you hear me? Because I cannot hear you. My frustration level is getting to the Toby level. Because I cannot hear you at all. Either check your mic settings or please call me back on FaceTime from your phone, which we know works. Something. All right. But I want to keep on with the show until I get you. I don't want to bring you in until I got audio on you. Okay. So we have a lot of people. Yeah, it's Toby in Florida. Oh, there we go. Yeah, he turned off the mute button. That helps a little bit. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm
Okay.
using a different microphone. I changed up microphones.
Yes, thank you. I was getting close to the F-bomb level of frustration here on the air. I was starting to hit the Toby stress level, which is
yeah,
not
Bush League.
Yeah, which is not a good thing, and not something I want to do. But yeah, I was trying to get you into the thing here. Let me turn on your video. Thank God. Jesus freaking Christ. Okay. Anyways, we are now 15 minutes in the show. Somehow we've kept most, if not all, of our listeners. I don't know how the hell that happened. Maybe because they're all family and dear friends. And well, welcome to the show, Toby. Glad we could get you in. We got to prep better next time when we change up our
Yeah, no, sorry. I apologize. Tonight, I just got in this morning from the Pacific Northwest where we're doing salmon fishing for Operation Salmon with Veteran Outdoors. And then amongst other things to kind of squeeze in, I have a travel tomorrow. We have to get a photo shoot done.
You there?
Tonight.
Yeah, okay.
Then, of course, like photographers are slow, so we have to get it done for a magazine that's doing a story on different veteran groups that participated in Hurricane Harvey rescuing.
Yeah. So is that a bikini photo shoot? Is that a or mankini or what was that?
Yeah, no. So it's funny. Like I showed up wearing shorts and a t-shirt because I thought they just it was like take some pictures, but they wanted to do this whole recreation thing, and I just wasn't playing that game. So.
Oh, they wanted to like recreate put you in chest deep water and act like you're burning babies out of
some boats and
nice.
Like guys wearing hip waders and stuff, and
yeah, you didn't get that memo, huh? You didn't. No one briefed you on that.
I was wearing 5'11" pants and a Veteran Outdoors Game Guard shirt and Smith sunglasses when I was doing it. So I'm like, well, I'm wearing 5'11" shorts and a Game Guard shirt and Smith glasses now. So that's about as close as you're gonna get.
Okay, so when we see that photo shoot,
I wasn't all tactical.
Yeah, when we see that in Penthouse, is that where it's at or what? We'll know the real story behind that. Or Playgirl or whatever it's going to be in. Can you tell us what magazine it's in, or is it like Hot Men Texas Men Monthly?
Playgirl.
Okay, good. Wow, subscription. Yeah, no, I see right now subscriptions for Hot Texas Men Monthly and stock prices going up right at this moment. So maybe you should bin that one. But
I do what I can.
Yeah, I hear that. Well, hey man, it's good. That's awesome though. That is an awesome opportunity that that they're doing a photo shoot and giving you guys some exposure, and giving Veterans Outdoors some exposure for the great work you guys did unselfishly, shall we say. As we talked about 2 weeks ago when we had you on, when you called in, when Doug and I were hosting, down there doing stuff. And then one thing that got my attention was some national coverage you got from the Wall Street Journal. I don't know if anyone saw that. We put it up on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about that? That was a pretty interesting story. I thought it was just a cool story, and then so you popped up on the screen like, okay, you guys were actually part of that. It wasn't just a cool story of saving a family in a burning house, but the VO crew was on station.
Yeah, no. So what kind of happened was we were going through a neighborhood, and we heard people screaming for help. We heard whistling, and we just couldn't find them, and they were tucked back in this cul-de-sac. We kept kind of boating around them, and then there was enough smoke once the house started burning that we were able to find it, and we just followed the smoke in, and we boated into them, and then we helped them vacate the house. They were a little bit nervous and apprehensive. They had some animals. They didn't want to leave without their animals. We helped them secure their cats, which note to self, everyone was saying, watch out for snakes, watch out for gators, whatever. There's nothing scarier than a wet cat. Let me just put that out there.
A wet not declawed
there's
cat?
nothing scarier.
I'm assuming
three wet cats.
They all had their claws, which made it even worse.
Oh, they were fully functional, fully functional felines. So we wrangled their cats for them, got them onto our boat. I called the fire in because I wasn't sure if the fire department would be even willing to respond or would have the capability, which they did not have the capability, but they were willing to respond and try. Then we brought some of them via LMTV and boat to the scene. Some guys that were also volunteers from Arkansas, the Arkadelphia Volunteer Fire Department, and if you watch the Wall Street Journal video, there's someone diving underwater to hook up to the hydrant. That's actually not the Houston Fire Department. The Houston Fire Department really didn't do a whole lot except stand around in that situation, despite how the video and all that stuff. It was actually the guys from Arkadelphia. My friend Travis Farley and I got the people out of the house and rescued the people and their animals. And then the guys, the volunteers from the Arkadelphia Volunteer Fire Department, they were helping the firefighters. They'd been volunteering for a couple days with us, and we'd been working in different neighborhoods together. And then we were standing there in the water holding our boats, the Arkadelphia boat and our boat together. I was holding on to both boats. And a jet ski came by, and we stopped them from coming in because they were just there to sightsee. And turned them away. And when we turned them away, the guy kind of splashed us and then roosted us with his jet. And Jason from the Arkadelphia Volunteer Firefighters, was like, "Oh wait, I got a jet on my boat." So we pushed the boat up, nosed it into a tree, and then used the jet engine from the boat to put out the fire.
That's pretty awesome. That is talk about ingenuity.
No, straight up, that's exactly what it was. I want to make sure everyone knows that it was not the Houston Fire Department that came up with that. The Houston Fire Department, while present, did not, contribute to the fighting of that fire. They did look good in their full gear, losing their radios in the water, but it was guys from Arkansas and guys from other than Houston that helped make that possible. After we rescued the folks and took them back in, and we went to where we were picking up the fire department to guide them into the fire. This guy jumped on the boat I was on, and super cool story. I thought he was with the fire department. Turns out he was with the Wall Street Journal. But not only was he with the Wall Street Journal, he was a guy that typically doesn't do domestic stuff. And his name's Dalton, and he spent 2 years in Mosul. He's been all over the world. He's a war correspondent, much like Tim Hetherington and some of those cats. And ended up being on the same area in the same terrain around the world a couple of times, and having this conversation with him while like we're helping fight this fire. I really enjoyed the time with him. If I'd have known he was with the media, I probably wouldn't have let him on the boat. And then it just turned out that he knows our friend Alex Horton, the Army of Dude, and so it just worked out. The right place and time for him, right place and time for us to really help that family. And now, like, it's been on Good Morning America. It's however many million views that video has now. It's ridiculous. But and why we're doing stupid recreative photo shoots here in Georgetown, Texas tonight. But so I'm proud of the guys I went with. The guys from Better Outdoors: Cody Hurt, Brad Stripmatter, Jason St. Peter, we had we had an active duty guy with us, a major infantryman that's about to retire, that went the ROTC route. So super proud of everyone from Georgetown and West Texas. We had some guys from out there, Wes Higgins, from the Midland, Odessa area come out. So super impressed by all the volunteers that came from different places and did really good stuff. There's organizations down there. Team Rubicon is down there. Team Rubicon's become quite the large getting a lot better organized than they used to be. They're a lot bigger. They have depth in their ranks that they didn't typically have. But it's almost, I don't want to say they're bureaucratic, but they're getting bigger. And with size comes growing pains, but they were doing and are doing great stuff. And like if you need a place to give money to, I would recommend Team Rubicon over the Red Cross, because it's the Red Cross just really is. This is not looking good for them. They're having a lot of really bad press on this, and it's kind of deserved. So
yeah, it's there's a ton, just like military charities, there's a ton of places to give that people can give. Red Cross is definitely one. You can also give through your church. We gave through our church, who is partnered with a whole bunch of churches all over, and they're partnered with the church down there. Our church last Sunday before last raised just from a special offering for the Hurricane Harvey effort, raised $50,000 on one Sunday.
Yeah, man, that's impressive.
Yeah, and it's so there's definitely a lot of ways to give, and it makes it tough too, right? Because now we have Irma, which came through and just devastated Florida in a lot of different ways than what Harvey did to Houston. We know that Harvey in Houston was yeah, there were winds and stuff, right? But it was mostly just the slow moving, stalling, and just amount of rainwater that hit. Where Irma was just it's 400 miles across and just had these devastating winds, and it wasn't so much that the winds were when it hit it was like Cat 3, but because it was so big it was Cat 3 everywhere, and then we see what happened to Jacksonville after it was dissipating well into Georgia, and even in Charleston, where it just that storm surge coming back in. It's funny, Toby, I'm sure you saw it. The videos all over. It started in the Bahamas, and then it's ended up in Tampa and Pensacola. There's videos all over of just the ocean being sucked out, right? And people walking on what was the ocean floor. And I heard a reporter saying, or weatherman saying it great. He's like, when you hear about a 10 or 15-foot storm surge, that 10 or 15 feet of water has to come from somewhere. That's where it came from. Normally, that is coming from the deep ocean, so we've never seen it. But because of the way and the geography that it took, we actually, and then the size of it, we actually seen this, water disappear. But guess where it ended up? It ended up Jacksonville, downtown Jacksonville, and downtown Charleston. Got a ton of it. So, yeah, now there's, there's still a lot of great causes. And one thing I want to caution people on, and Toby, you probably know this, this definitely firsthand. It's not over just because the media is not covering it now, because they're talking about, politics again, and the Supreme Court decision that just came down literally a couple hours ago, and everything else and stuff and Miss America. Guess what? Those people are still down there cutting out mold and drywall and ripping up carpets. And in Florida, they're still without power. You know, hundreds of thousands of homes are destroyed. Freezers full of food are wasted. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that still has to happen.
No, it's really, you know, so obviously, people have asked a lot of questions, and they were like about the rescues and stuff. That is such a minuscule, inconsequential need or effort in these situations. The lady that's like my mom, Judy, she lives in Naples. This is the second time the eye of a hurricane's gone and made a direct hit on Naples in the Marco Island area. They've weathered them both. They weathered this one. They lost the cage of their lanai, but it's the need of immediate assistance isn't as important as the follow-on care. And what's really needed in Houston currently and in Florida currently is recovery. And that recovery means like going into people's homes and cutting the drywall off the flooded area or the soaked area, so that they don't get mold in their homes, and like drying it out and vacuum it and cleaning it and then replacing it and replacing the damaged furniture, hauling it to the street so they can be hauled away. I have no idea where the landfills are going to become available. Some of this trash is going to be hauled hundreds of miles away because there's just not the availability nearby. But the opportunities to help now are to help people go through this reconstruction and recovery process. And if you're listening to the show and you're a young man or woman, or well, it doesn't matter what your age is, if you have the time and the ability and some skills to rip out drywall and put it back up, then you can make a good living, or you could just do a good thing and help some people out. Our church is getting an effort together, I believe, to go, send folks down to do that. And, with a sister church or a partnering campus, so it's, the devastation is just hard to explain. You can look at the videos, you can see us, riding boats down like neighborhood streets, but what happens after that, and that's the same thing with what's going on in Florida, like the high winds and the water, the storm surge, like once that leaves, it just leaves devastation. Even though like the house might have all the walls and the furniture and the roof and stuff, there's so much inside that needs to be done to make it safe for habitation.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Toby, we do have a question from an old friend of mine in the chat, asking about curious about why no looting in Texas, but in Florida it's out of control. I know we don't really know about Florida except what we see in the news, but in Texas, I mean, is the media portraying it that way, or is it really? I mean, I'm assuming there was some looting in Texas also.
So there's some truth to what's being reported. There was Texas. However, before the major looting events took place, it got shut down. And a lot of it had to do with the area and who was in there to help. What's being reported in Florida, is people that, and this is not disorganized crime. I want to make sure that people understand that these aren't just, you've seen some locals that are getting busted, but you're seeing people actually travel from a safe location to an unsafe location in an organized fashion with a modus operandi to loot and steal and take advantage of the situation. In Texas, because of the sustained, the stalling of the storm and the sustainment of it over the thing, people didn't get organized. Criminals didn't get organized quick enough to react. And when they finally did get organized, there was a saturation of that battle space, or of that looting space, if you will, that was already well armed and of honorable character. And there was no hesitation to stop anybody. Texas has a law that allows a third-party person to protect the property of a third party. That's why you're not seeing statues getting vandalized and damaged in Texas, because there's a chance that someone could shoot somebody for that. Any citizen is able to defend the private property of a third party if they knowingly know that something. And it's really good rules of engagement. Very similar to 0304 in Iraq under the General Order 2. Florida, on the other hand, has your stand your ground, which is the famous law that got put to the test during the Trayvon Martin, I believe, case, right? And that stand your ground doesn't allow a third party to protect a first person to protect a third party. They can only protect themselves. So no one's stopping someone from robbing a third party. They're like they are in Texas. So there's a legal difference there. But I also think that the fact that the storm hit, they were prepared for it. They had time to move to it. It was very organized, and for no, don't let anyone tell you looting is a disorganized crime. It is very organized. It's targeted. They target stores where they know that they can get good street resale value product. The famous video that everyone's seeing, which most of those folks got caught. They were targeting Foot Lockers and retail stores where there were items of street value that they could turn around and sell. Same with electronics and such and such.
Are you sure about that? I thought that was the Black Lives Matter movement going down there to help rescue those from being wet. I thought that's what they were doing. I thought they were saving those shoes from getting ruined. Were they really stealing those? They were 90 mile an hour winds for 90 mile an hour wind.
No work boots were stolen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no work boots. Yeah, 90 mile an hour winds for a pair of Jordans. Okay. Well, thank God the Apple iPhone X or 10 isn't out. Man, who knows? Who knows the number of people that went down and would have rescued those from a Best Buy, maybe. Who knows?
Right. Well, and the thing is, like, certain phones like that, that are serialized and I know that there's ways to break them and jailbreak them, and there's an underground market for stuff like that, but it's not like some making. And when you have a truck pulled up to the back of a retail outlet, whatever it is, don't think that that's a target of opportunity. It's not like what we saw in Katrina, where people were rummaging through grocery stores getting food and rummaging through. They were like, oh, I guess I could take this TV too. No, this is a very organized, thought out, planned, district event. Sorry, my dogs. Hold on.
No problem. That's all right. We're gonna switch subjects here and shift a little bit. There's a lot of stuff going on right now in the news. Like I said, right before we came on air, right before we came on studio or on a show, the Supreme Court just handed down another decision about the President Trump's immigration law. If you may remember, it's one of the first acts he signed as executive order, banning people from 7 countries, and then a judge from Hawaii a very liberal judge in Hawaii got in the mix and said, no, you're going to stop a whole bunch of Muslims and people from those countries coming to Hawaii. I didn't realize they had such an influx there. I've been there a few times. Can't say that was enough. If it's from the Far East, I could see it, but not from the Middle East. But anyways, and that's been back and forth. So the Supreme Court there a few months ago, Toby, they ruled that the ban can stay in place while they evaluate and all that kind of stuff. Well, a judge tried to come back again and say it couldn't be allowed. Several of the justices said, "Who are we to determine what a bona fide relationship is?" and all that stuff. Anyways, they just lower court judge tried to open it up. The Supreme Court just brought it back in and just essentially gave the president and said, the Supreme Court we cannot rescind an executive order. We cannot change it. bona fide relationship with someone that's an American citizen is understandable, but anyone else not, they're not going to be allowed in. So that happened right before we came on.
Yeah, no, it's been an interesting week. So, obviously pre or mid storm or mid storms, the current president of the United States has been getting a lot of heat over immigration issues. So we'll start with the deferred action for childhood arrivals, the DACA. There's been a huge uprising on social media. There's all this media attention to it, and first and foremost, let me say the majority of what you're seeing in social media about it involving military people is 100% false, untrue, 100% patently false. If you are a dreamer and you're in the military, that means you've done the right things, got the right paperwork, and you've checked the right blocks, and you are no longer part of the deferred action for childhood arrivals because you are at a minimum, a resident alien of this country, which means you're welcome and you're on a legal path to citizenship. And so anyone that's telling you that there's going to be military members kicked out because they're part of this DACA, that's patently false, that's untrue, that's a bold-faced lie.
And you would know firsthand how that process works. And if anyone wants to question it.
Yeah, no, and patently false. And I've been attacked on social media about it because I tweeted last week or a couple days ago, I tweeted it I came here as a 16-year-old guy, got a green card, got a CIB, got a hot ass wife, had some great babies, and I'm living the American dream.
Hoorah! That's what I'm talking about.
Hashtag.
Hashtag. That's
exactly. Freedom.
Exactly.
So I got a lot of hate. I got some people attacking me. They're like, "Oh, well, you must be rich," and and I always yeah, I was like, "That's right." I don't know how joining the military followed by "you must be rich" come into play. People are like, "Well, you got white privilege," and
that's Canadian privilege.
Tell that to me when I was on range whatever in basic training. Crawling under live machine gun fire. Yeah. That's just all.
Did you feel
whatever.
that? Did you feel that white privilege when you were running out of the back of a striker and as bullets were bouncing off your left and right? Did you feel that white privilege?
No, I totally have to and that's the keyboard warriors. But one of the reasons I bring this up is because there's a veteran organization called Vote Vets it's led by a Marine Lance Corporal. It's got people on their board of directors, one being a major general, and they're spreading these falsehoods, and I want to make sure just because you see the name veteran attached to something doesn't make it legitimate. And anyone that's telling you that dreamers are being kicked out of the military because it is a lie. This is a different situation. They're trying to throw the dreamers in the same category as transvestites, and that's patently false. They're two completely different issues, two completely different things. There's no one currently serving in the military that is not of the proper immigration standing. At a minimum, they have a green card which makes them a resident alien. Now, in my case, where that expires and you're overseas and blah, 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 but they don't kick you out. They help you make it right. And I'm living proof that when my green card expired and I was stationed in Iraq back in the old school days, they didn't kick me out because I had signed a contract and they kept me working. And I worked for the man.
Yeah.
So it's all good.
No, you hit on a good point, Toby, and that is
circling back
real quick. The narrative of one side is always to use children, is always to somehow victimize children and victimize the military. They use that as their talking point to feel like and it doesn't matter if it's If it's DACA, it doesn't matter. If it's a transgender thing, the DACA thing, they keep talking about, they keep raising up children. Yeah. I'm sure most Americans don't realize the people affected by the DACA program, a majority of them are in their late 20s, early 30s. They have children. They are no longer children.
Yes, average age is 26.
Yeah, you're not ripping. You're not like Elliot. Wasn't no Gonzalez kid and the Cuban kid they ripped out of the closet in Florida, right? You're not ripping someone out of someone's hands,
right?
And by the way, that was there were Democrats in charge and did that, by the way. So
just because it's the same people that are complaining about DACA that were the people that ripped Elian Gonzalez out of the closet and sent him home, right?
Exactly.
But the interesting thing is how people forget that there's this thing called accountability. Even people I know that are extremely liberal, and I love them to death. They're friends, they're family. We don't necessarily share the same political views. However, they're my people, and that's all that matters to me, because I'm on the human party side versus the whatever left or right side. And one of the things that captured my attention, that even got their attention, is we weren't talking about someone kicking people out. We weren't talking about targeted hatred. We weren't talking about targeted aggression. What we were talking about is a legal issue. And the legal issue is President Obama created a executive action that most people, including liberals and liberal constitutional scholars, call unconstitutional. There's been a lot of argument about the constitutionality of the action, and it seems that all our president did, however, it wasn't portrayed like this in the media. It appears that all he actually did was say, hey, look, we know that this is unconstitutional. We know that this is an illegal action by the guy before me. Here's your chance, lawmakers, Congress, the branch of the government responsible for making law. Here's your opportunity to get it right. 6 months, go, which is a very usable timeline.
Yeah, that's all. You're right. That's all he did is like, you got 6 months, make something happen, because we know that Congress will spend years and not get something happen. They have a history there. We're not making this up. You can look at the ineptitude of Congress.
You have lawmakers calling out, I'm going to use former Homeland Security Secretary and now White House Chief of Staff, the Honorable and Awesome General Kelly, as an example. They were calling him out, saying he was unfit for his uniform. He was a disgrace for his uniform. He was this and that. And he gave them the greatest break of their lives. Hey, if you don't like the way this is, instead of it getting shut down completely, here's a window of opportunity for y'all to get it right. The people that are supposed to get it right, the lawmakers.
Right.
And it's just so interesting, because with DACA, with the Supreme Court, upholding the constitutionality of, President Trump's, the current president of the United States, plan and an executive order. And it's not a Muslim ban. It's a plan to vet people from certain places. And I don't want to say there's science, but there's statistical analysis, and there's a pattern of analysis that supports what they did. So get mad if you want. And the girls that were on the robotics team, he made an exception for them because he knew that they weren't here to do other stuff.
Exactly.
So and get mad if you want.
Yeah, that's a good point. Another thing too is he didn't pull those 7 countries out of his butt. Those were established by the previous administration. The administration that's been leading this country for 8 years, fighting, and I use that term leading loosely, but has been in charge for 8 years, and also doing, involved in a lot of actions and security incidents and wars and everything. He didn't pull up those 7. They were established by that. All he did is carry that forward. And said, well, they knew what they were. They've got the experience. Who might have questioned it? Yeah, those 7 we should just slow down on and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it is. It is.
The funny thing is, not to bash, like, and I don't want it to sound like I'm bashing him, but there's a point to be made and visualized here, and that point is, former President Obama came out and made a very strong statement against the Dreamers Act, the Deferred Action Against Childhood Arrivals. However, within his presidency, he deported more people than the history of any other president. And, I find it like the irony is like, here's a guy defending a unconstitutional legal action when he was known as the deporter in chief.
Yeah, yeah, and just like, well, not much different.
Again, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you fall on. It's like, here are the facts.
Right.
Here are the numbers.
That's just it. They're not being carried, right? He got a Nobel Peace Prize not even 6 months into his presidency, yet dropped more bombs and hellfires into Pakistan than the previous president's 2 terms, and went and started a war in Libya too, illegally without it. But he did get a Peace Prize. I
killed Bin Laden.
Yeah, exactly. But and it was also on his watch. It was also on his watch that was it 6 years ago yesterday that we lost an ambassador and several great Americans and several wounded. And a lot of people kind of forgot that too. It was overshadowed that Benghazi happened on 9/11 also, and that was under the previous administration's watch. Go ahead.
I know we were going to talk about it near the end of the show, but yesterday being September 11th, I had the pleasure of spending the majority of my day in airports, and one of the things is I remember where I was. I remember what my experience of September 11th, 2001 was. But to sit there yesterday and last night in airports, I was just so encouraged. I just felt so uplifted, and because we're not terrorized. The purpose of terror and terrorism is to inflict violence, to create a dissension and change a political position. That didn't work. ISIS, they're successful in other locations. They are not successful here. Al-Qaeda, while successful in other locations, is not successful here. While they've had some attacks that they would, chalk up as wins, I stood in multiple airports across the country yesterday wearing a grunt-style Enlisted 9 shirt and felt safer than I and had the confidence in knowing that America was prepared for anything that they would have brought on that. September 11th is, historically now a scary day to travel. However, I did not feel scared, and I even hashtagged it, not terrorized.
Yeah,
because,
I saw that.
They didn't win.
Yeah, I saw that. Well, isn't it sad? I kind of want to go on a little bit of a rant here. It was just us tonight. So, and if you're tuning in, you are watching and listening to Stu and the Nunn Show. You got Toby and Troy on tonight, just the 2 of us. So, kind of catching up on things. But I want to highlight just an epiphany I had, if I may use such a word, Toby. That isn't it?
Ooh, that's big for you.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's like $3.75 for that word. This day, 16 years ago, we were the most patriotic that I think this country's probably ever been since December 1941, right? This day, the day after, the weeks after, the months after, this country, we saw the pictures, we saw where everyone was covered in ash and race didn't matter and you didn't care and people were helping each other. Fast forward 16 years, we've seen that the last couple weeks. People of all types, sizes, races, mixes are all helping each other out, whether it's in Houston or in Florida or the territories and the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. People are helping each other, whether they're giving money through their churches, whether they're dragging their boat down there, or even their party barge houseboat, like our buddy Chuck Z did, to rescue animals. I mean, it didn't matter what they were. No one asked what your party affiliation was. Nobody asked, hey, who your favorite musician is, who you voted for. We were just Americans helping Americans. Isn't it sad that when we don't have a terrible tragedy, whether it's impacting our infrastructure, our houses, our property, or lives, that instead we turn on each other. We get on our keyboards, we get online, we defriend people. God forbid you have a different opinion. Why do we have to be so freaking narrow-minded that we hate each other and cannot even listen to each other and develop stereotypical images of each other unless we're having people are in distress? If people are in distress, we don't care. Why can't the American people not be so driven by narratives given out by the media and whoever, and just focus on what's more important in life? Just helping your fellow man. Because it doesn't matter what religion you're in, even Islam and all of them, all religions preach being kind to other people and treating people with respect. People twist religions, whether it's radical Christians and it's white supremacists, or it's radical Islam and things like that, and terrorists, jihadists. But really, all religions preach, if you follow a religion or if you don't, we're all raised to respect each other and care for each other and help out those that are in need. But man, it just frustrates me that it takes freaking hurricanes destroying houses and cities, or it takes terrorists bringing down towers and killing thousands to make us feel that way. I'm done with my rant. Sorry about that.
No, I mean, you have a very strong point there. And it's like, one of the things that I took away from Houston was that you see the best of people in the darkest of moments. You see the best of humanity when it's truly tested. And it saddens me that that's what brings it out. Although when you see it brought out, you're uplifted, you feel the blessing of it. But I think yesterday I saw a ton of mentions about George W. Bush, the president of the United States at the time of 9/11, throwing out the first pitch in a baseball game shortly afterwards. And it's like, in those dark moments you see the best. But unfortunately, we are quick to forget. However, like I was saying a few moments ago, being in the airport and seeing people unafraid to fly, what really made my day, because I was like, it's solid.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's I just heard myself for some reason. There we go. I think I'm coming across in your speakers. Am I coming across in your speakers? It is just. Why do I keep hearing myself? Am I hearing yourself off of your speakers, Toby? All of a sudden, I start hearing myself. I don't know if that's off of yours or not. It's just what we haven't heard in the last 2 weeks. You haven't heard. Well, we've heard North Korea, because that little punk keeps starting stuff, and we'll see what happens there. We can talk about that, but we haven't heard about Russia. You haven't. Well, you just heard some stuff about Hillary today, because she is just crying. Somebody get that girl a big old box of tissues. She is blaming everybody now. She's after Comey. She's after Trump. But you haven't heard about Russia. You haven't heard about this. Now, some stuff we haven't heard is pretty substantial, and there's some news that it's not being covered because it's just the medias don't want to cover it. Like Wasserman Schultz's IT guy there, who's not really an IT guy. They got $4 million. But it is all the other hyped up stuff, the things that keep going on. You're just not hearing that. What we heard the last couple? We heard real news, because real news was happening, and that was happening in Texas, and it was happening in Florida. That's what. Why can't the new? That's what people want to hear. They tuned in. The Weather Channel had broke all kind of records when the Irma hit Florida. they've ever had, because people want to care. They want to hear the news. You don't have to make stuff up to get that. That's what's turning so many people off. But I'll turn it back to you.
Well, just to make sure. And when certain news outlets tried to tell the story of what was happening in storm areas, they got busted lying about it. CNN got busted in Houston, and CNN got busted in Florida, misrepresenting the truth. Pretending like they were, like in Houston, they pretended that they were saving a guy, like a CNN reporter saw a guy drive in and then did a rescue, and that was proved to be false and staged. And then in Florida, same thing. Like, hey, I can't stand out here. It's so windy, it's so dangerous. And then guys ride by on their bicycles. What's really going on in the world is substantial enough. We have 3 storms currently active. One in the Yucatan Peninsula, Katia. Irma just took out the Keys and most of the Caribbean. You got Jose sneaking up from behind. You have an 8.1 magnitude earthquake on the left coast of Mexico. You got North Korea saying that it is going to give us a pain that we've never felt. We're going to face and feel a pain that we've never felt. There's so much going on that these little things, Weiserman Schultz, Russia collusion, whatever it might be that you're trying to do, and the whole Russia collusion thing, I'm going to go back and say, like, hey, I get it. Totally don't think anything other than absolutely Russia's trying to influence our elections. I'm going to go ahead and say since probably 1947, they've had plans to disrupt our democratic process. We're awesome, and they suck.
Not any different.
Of course, they want to like sabotage it.
Yeah, not any different than how we have tried to influence other countries' elections through our intelligence agencies, countries all over this world.
And just like one of the greatest presidents in American history, Ronald Reagan, called out a Russian and said, "Mr. Gorbachev, do something, tear down this wall, embrace glasnost, and do that." Like, we're complaining about the Russians trying to influence us, but yet we forget like how we used to influence them, and continue to do so. But it's nice to see that some of the stuff is going on. But I gotta tell you, like, there's so much going on that you don't need to listen to crap. And God bless the Weather Channel, because they were putting out timely information from sources that were reputable, and they saved lives. And I'm glad that they got the ratings. I hope they sell a bunch of ad space. I know the Weather Channel's been the only channel that's been on in my house for a little bit. Like I said, the Knapp family, Judy and Kevin. Judy's like my mom. I hope nothing ever happens to her. I wish the best when I was in Florida and had the opportunity to respond to a hurricane and use my chainsaw and Humvee to get to her house. That was one of the proudest moments of my life. And when you see like people trying to tell us something other than that going on, check your sources.
You know what it reminds me of, Toby? You'll appreciate this, and so will any of our listeners who have been in the military for a while, and maybe others. But it's like, young soldier, right? Or it could be older soldier, whatever. But they go to combat. They serve. They don't go to combat. They serve their country. They do 5 years. They do 20 years. It doesn't matter. Maybe they go to a combat tour. Maybe they have 5 combat tours. Maybe they never get that opportunity because they served and we were in peacetime. Thank God we were in peacetime because of them. Yet they have to be the ones that when they go out in public, or they even if they try to do it like at the VFW, the American Legion, but they go out in public, every one of them is a special forces, sniper, ranger, SEAL, Maybe they come back with a few extra ribbons on their uniform. Maybe they're telling all the girls downtown that they did this and did that. It's like, you don't have to make this stuff up. What you've done, especially after 9/11, if you have raised your hand and enlisted or re-enlisted after 9/11, you deserve all the kudos in the world if you served honorably. I'll put that in parentheses. If you've served honorably, because just because you serve in the military doesn't mean you're squared away, top-notch person. Your occupation, whether it be soldier or priest, does not make you above the law or make you untouchable. So if you've served after 9/11, you've done, man, it's awesome. You've done what 99% of this country has not done. You do not need to add more on. You don't need to come back and tell them that you went to Halo school in Iraq and or went to Special Forces school when you were in Kosovo, in Kosovo Special Forces, and you jumped with a tie out of a hot air balloon or something like. You don't have to put all that stuff on. You don't have to make stuff up. You just tell people you served and tell them the fact. Hey, I served to this. Maybe I served in combat. I didn't. That's what it reminds. That's what the news reminds me of today. It's like, man, we got to go a little bit better. We got to sell some more ads. We got to be the first ones to put a story out, even if it's not correct, because that's what it's turned into. It's not going to be correct anymore. There's no fact checking. We just have to be first. We'll worry about facts later. But anyways, that's what it reminds me of. I just want to rant on that again. You're muted, by the way, I think. You are muted. Muted. Yep. I still don't hear you. Oh, there we go.
You see that? Yeah. All right. So you see that at all levels, right? You see at the lowest level, you see the highest level. The lowest level being, Joe Schmo, that, we got a guy we know that we're not friends with because he's a tool. Troy Yoakum, that, Frenched up what he's got going on, and all he has really is a National Defense Ribbon says top row. I don't know how you go to Iraq, serve as an infantryman, and come back with less than an AM, but apparently he was that big of a shitbag. But you also have guys like Marcus Luttrell. And, here's a guy that, he's got a book out, a movie deal, and, was willing to allow Hollywood to manipulate and change the storyline, for his financial gain. So, you get it at all levels. But one thing, and I gotta compliment you on your last sentiment, and our mutual friend Chad Robichaux always says, when you get someone that signed their name and raised their hand post 9/11, you knew exactly what you were getting. You were getting someone that understood the situation and that was willing to participate. I remember when I first came to the United States, my very first real visit in trying to establish myself in the United States was during Desert Storm. And there was a television show on at the time involving some college kids. It was a spinoff of the Cosby Show. It was called A Different World, I believe. And during that show, guys got called up from that show. On the show, their characters got called up to be reservists and go to war. And they posed that, I signed up for the college money. And I remember seeing that, as a high school student, someone trying to become and establish myself in the United States so that I could do something in this country. And I remember thinking to myself, if you signed your name and you raised your hand and you made a commitment based on the idea that you were trying to get something for it, that's not service and that's not generosity. What that is leverage. And, I didn't respect those guys. I saw a television show. I saw right through it. I hadn't even served a day in my life yet. I didn't even thought about it. I was still a pot-smoking hippie. And if there were waves in Alaska, I would have surfed them because that's where my head was at. And I saw through that. Now, legitimately, if someone signed up post 9/11, they were down for the get down.
Yeah, they knew what they were getting into. There's no more college money. And I heard the same thing. When I was a first sergeant, when my unit was getting deployed in 2004, And I had, and I'll tell people, I've told people this story a lot. I had an NCO who we were trying to get to reenlist, right? We wanted to keep him. He was an he was an E6 at the time. And, we talked, I brought him in as the first sergeant and said, hey, what are you thinking about reenlisting? How come you haven't reenlisted yet? What's going on? You've done this much time. And the guy, it was my job as a first sergeant for retention, right? And that's what a senior NCO's and all NCO's got to do is try to make sure you keep your good people. And he looked at me and said, if you can guarantee me that I won't deploy, then I'll reenlist. And I sat there shocked. There's not many times as a first sergeant that I get shocked. I got shocked too often. But I looked at this E6 infantry NCO in the face. His unit, the entire company is getting mobilized and getting alerted to deploy to Iraq, and been getting a couple different alerts for that. We'd already been to the pit. We'd already been 9/11 already happened, right? We were there. We were at ground zero protecting it. We were smelling the smells. We were doing all that stuff. We protected airports in the whole state. And he looked me in the face and said, I will reenlist if you guarantee I'm not going to deploy. And after I sat there, I don't know, it was maybe a couple seconds, I guess. I stood up, I looked at him, I said, if that is your stipulation, then get the F out of my office. I'm sure I used quite a few more words. It was required. I was a first sergeant. I had to. And I was like, you can walk out that door and not look back. In fact, you can just turn your shit in now. And I don't want you leading my soldiers. If you would rather let them go off and go to combat as a leader and you're not willing to go with them, and I'm like, you're done. And I had no problem reporting that up to the chain of command when they said, what about, Sergeant so-and-so? I'm like, no, we don't want him. Of course I caught all kind of beat. I'm like, no, he's not reenlisting. I'm not even offering it to him, because if for you, as someone may think that, but to look at the first round in the eyes as a mid-manager career, essentially soldier at E6, and say, if you can only promise him that my soldiers can go, but I'm not going to go, dude, I don't have time of day for you. You can hit the door on the way out. But yeah. Anyways, just made me think of that. But
no, I remember, I'm a member, and I just spent the last week, with some former members and current members of the 1st of the 23rd Infantry, the Tomahawks, one of the most storied infantry units within the Army's arsenal. And we came back from Iraq, and we'd done a couple of pumps over there, and we were getting ready to go back to Iraq, and we had a conscientious objector come forward, an officer, being made big international news, and it's like, what did you think you were participating in? But that's not the norm. I mean, that was like 0.003% of the entire military that did that. But I know we're running short on time, and I want to make sure that everyone that's watching this and listening looks in our upper left-hand corner, because we have enlisted Fight Company up there this weekend. On our right-hand side, we got Sheepdog Response. I want to give a big shout-out to the people we love and the people that support us. Enlisted 9 Fight Company, look for us making a big announcement about them in the next week or two, right here, wearing them like a tab. Love them. They're a great company, founded by 2 amazing people. Both have been guests on the show, Command Sergeant Major Dan O'Brien and Sergeant First Class Colton Smith. Colton Smith being the winner of the Ultimate Fighter, famous from fighting it out on the UFC. He's also fought in the World Series of Fighting, and he is currently, as he reported on his last time on the show, up in the Washington D.C. area, representing the infantry by being with an infantry sergeant major, as he's the senior enlisted advisor to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. No big deal. Yeah, but that's who we represent. That's who we support on this show. That's what we wear when we go out in public. And we're super excited to announce what we're going to in the next week. So please tune in for that. But other than that, I know we're a few minutes over because we had a little bit of time that we wasted trying to get our Bush Leagueness out of the way. But it's good to be back on the air. We're looking forward to next week. And
Yeah, we've got.
All will be good. We got a really good show next week.
Yeah,
with,
we've got
Curtis.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Toby. I didn't mean to step.
Yeah, and I'm pretty excited because the former guest of the show, JP Borda, was the owner and founder and creator of millblogging.com. And we're going to talk with Curtis next week, who's millblogging.com 2.0, or I guess 3.0, since military.com had it for a minute. And excited to talk to him and hear what's going on. For those of you in the Mill Blog community, he's going to be talking about a new Mill Blog conference that's happening in the very near future in Texas, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Now, that we're trying to attend. If we can work the scheduling out, we're going to do it. If not, we'll figure something out. But that's what I got going on. That's what you got going on.
Yeah, we got Curtis Riggs on next week. We have Sarah Lee back on the week after that. So we've got the next couple weeks booked up, and we're working on guests for the followings. But Sarah from A Vicious Cycle will be on the week after. She's going to be giving us an update. She had some unforeseen turn of events happen if you don't follow. So we're going to be getting an update from her even the week after. So make sure you're tuning in here on Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock, not only here on Facebook, or you could be here on YouTube. You could be listening on Spreaker, you could be on Twitch TV or Twitter's Periscope. Right now, we are broadcasting live on all 5 of those outlets. So however you tune in, be sure and tune in 8 o'clock Eastern on Tuesday nights right here. And make sure you share, like the page, like our Facebook page, like the YouTube page. Check all those things out. Share with your friends. If they're not on if they're not on Facebook, share them to YouTube, whatever it is. But be sure and tune in, because we are racking and stacking like fast movers. We got them lined up, and we are ready to drop some awesome ordnance as far as great guests with you. So with that, look at that, Toby bringing in the birds. But
shaking and baking.
That's it, baby. So anyways, thanks everyone for tuning in here to Stu and the Nunn Show. Hey, if we didn't have a little bush leagueness going on, it would probably be invalid, right? It'd probably be the Russians trying to pull this off. So that's how you know it's valid. You know it's us. But Toby, I want to wish you a good night, my friend. Welcome. I'm glad you're back home safe and dry. Glad you changed those socks, and you are back home with family and loved ones. And everyone, please, as Toby said, don't forget the people in Houston. Don't forget the people all in Florida and everywhere down in Puerto Rico and the Caribbean islands. The fight's just starting for them. They do not let the media and the news distract you. It's not well and good. If you have family and friends down there, I'm sure you know that firsthand as you hear from them. So they're going to be needed for a long time. With that, Toby, I want to bid you a good night. You got any final words?
Yeah, like you just said, don't forget about the people that were in the Caribbean, the U.S. Virgin Islands. There's a great effort coming out of Texas right now to assist there. It's headed up by a guy that Texas claims and loves and keeps close to their heart, Tim Duncan, also a supporter of a lot of things that we're supporters of. So don't forget about the people as part of the territories, Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, anywhere in the Caribbean that was damaged by Irma. Keep them in your thoughts. It's not just, the nice places like Naples and Marco Island, which I hope you keep in your thoughts and prayers because my family's there. But, just remember it's a broader scheme than just a few targeted little areas. God bless everyone. Thank you for your support. Thank you for everything you've been doing lately. I'm just absolutely overwhelmed by the support that we've seen in terms of product, material, and things going to people that deserve it, need it, money, the love offerings at different churches. It's awesome. Keep up with that. And we look forward to the next couple weeks. And like Troy said, great guests, great things coming up. And look forward to a major announcement in the very near future.
There we go. Everybody have a good night. Thank you. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Stu and the Nunn Radio. We hope you enjoyed your time with us because we have enjoyed sharing our time with you. Be sure to check out stewandthenunn.com in addition to asking us questions and interacting with us on our Facebook page and Twitter. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern here on Spreaker and Facebook Live. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Warrior Media Solutions, Poohhammer.com, Veteran Outdoors, Graybeard Publishing, and Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Thank you again, and have a great day.